Hi, I'm Davy, and I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the kind of movies that I love, the alternative B-rated cult-style flicks. So this one's been a long time coming. I reviewed the first movie, and now it's time for the second movie. This one was released in 1988, 3 years after the original. And it was written and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. It was also written by Tim Metcalf, Miguel Tejeda Flores, I hope I said that right, and based on characters by Tom Holland. And was distributed by the Vista organization, which is now New Century / Vista, and TriStar Pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, the not-so-well-received sequel to one of the best vampire movies ever, Fright Night Part 2. The movie opens with Charlie from the first movie, played by William Ragsdale, recapping the end of the last movie.
Huge explosion!
Charlie is meeting with a therapist about his experience with Jerry Dandridge, the lead vampire from the first movie. Keep up.
Jerry Dandridge was a serial murderer, cult worshiper, kidnapper.
What?
And was Jerry Dandridge a vampire?
No, there's no such thing.
Is he just telling him what he thinks he wants to hear?
Because vampires don't exist.
No. Apparently he's been in therapy ever since the first movie. Understandable, but he's been convinced that while what happened to him was tragic, there's no such thing as vampires. Charlie is worried about leaving therapy, not because of vampires, but mostly the concept of running into Peter Vincent, who killed his best friend.
And even though it was self-defense, you still have ambivalent feelings towards him.
That's how they explain Evil Ed not being in this movie. They just say he was killed. Forgetting about the fact that he said, "You're so cool, Brewster," at the end of it, but okay. Then again, they had to find a way to write him out because the actor, Stephen Jeffries, could not do this movie because he was busy making 976 Evil. But now Charlie goes home.
No!
This is a sequel, Charlie. You're gonna need those. And then Charlie decides to take his girlfriend and go meet with Peter Vincent.
Listen, Peter, I'm sorry I didn't return any of your phone calls.
Oh, no, I understand.
Still played by Roddy McDowall. As Charlie and his new girlfriend Alex are meeting with Peter Vincent, Charlie looks out the window and notices something. Oh no. Not again.
Thanks very much, but no thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. As Charlie and Alex are leaving...
He really does believe in vampires, though, doesn't he?
And so will you. When they get downstairs, Alex has to go use the ladies' room.
Oh, you want me to go with you?
What for?
Because every guy has a thing.
Ew.
But that is gross. While waiting outside of the ladies' room, Charlie notices Regine, played by Julie Carmen. I bet she'd let me watch her pee. Dude, your girlfriend's right in the other room. I wasn't looking at anything. Charlie takes Alex to her dorm, and outside they get a little bit frisky. Well, that was weird.
Good night, Charlie.
Man, if I had a dime for every time that happened to me, I'd have 0 dimes. Seriously, dude. Pay attention to who you're kissing. It's not that difficult. At the college, we see this girl. And she meets this guy. A roller skating vampire. What a concept. Your art project was not abstract art. By the way, kids, this all could have been avoided if she had had Velcro shoes instead of laces. Yeah. This movie also has a Wolfman. Played by Don Gries, who also played the Wolfman in a movie that my brother and I reviewed not too long ago, The Monster Squad. And he is sent after Alex. He doesn't succeed.
You're supposed to bite her on the neck.
Oh, man.
You're about as good as a werewolf as you are a football player, Uncle Rico. Gosh! Regine stops by Charlie's room.
Come in.
Thanks.
Did you learn nothing from the first movie?
You mind if I smoke?
Only if you're on fire. And she gets right into it.
Do you know how to use your lips, Charlie?
hot as she is, I'd be very weary of a woman who moves that fast. Not for that reason, but it's in there. Oh, it was only a dream. Or was it? No, it wasn't. Alex is at his door.
You're white as a sheet.
Well, to be fair, Alex, this is an 80s horror film. So if they had casted a black guy to play Charlie, he'd have been killed already. By the way, have you ever thought to yourself, man, I'd really like to see Shao Kahn eat a bug?
Nublio fasciata.
Then you're welcome. And that's Bosworth, played by Brian Thompson, who, yes, played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but I choose to remember him as the Night Slasher from Cobra. That review is coming. Alex and Charlie make a date for the next night. But he didn't make the date because he ended up seeing Regine's limo and decided to follow her instead. So not only are you a crappy boyfriend, you're also a stalker. The guy that she's kissing is Charlie's friend Richie, played by Merritt Budrick. And I know you're wondering why I would mention him, he's not very well known. But that's because about a year after this movie came out, he passed away from AIDS. Rest in peace. Then Charlie sees something. You see, kids, before the internet, being a pervert was a lot of work. Back to the theater.
Would you happen to have an extra ticket?
Don't give it to him. He'll try to sell you some crappy Tupperware.
I guess you're in luck.
Or breast enhancement pills.
Is she right?
Yes, there will be more Napoleon Dynamite jokes through this review. Back to Charlie. Still don't believe in vampires?
Not a dream.
And then he gets raped by the devil and has a demon baby.
We don't care if you get it.
So Charlie goes to Peter Vincent's, who, despite the fact that this has happened before, is having trouble believing him.
Do you mind if I borrow these?
But still agrees to go. They go over to Regine's and she's having a little get-together.
It's a party!
Okay, let's not split hairs here. Charlie finds Richie and he's, well, a little inebriated. Well, this is awkward.
It's the wrong thing to do, Brewster.
Charlie is ready to leave.
Man, such a thing simply couldn't happen twice, Charlie.
Yeah, it does seem a little coincidental, doesn't it? But it gets explained.
Do you mind? Of course not.
Apparently, she's a performance artist.
There's a logical explanation.
It would seem so. Oh, by the way,
Oh my God, Alex!
you're in trouble. But Peter's still a little suspicious. So after doing the same thing that convinced him that Jerry Dandridge was a vampire, he decides it's time to go. And take the stairs. Yeah, it turns out she can get there pretty fast too. Peter asks her what she wants. And she tells him this is about Jerry Dandridge.
He was my brother, Mr. Vincent. Your punishment won't be as severe as Charlie Brewster's. But you will pay, Mr. Vincent.
Okay, you get the point. Louis, the Wolfman, walks Alex home.
Good night, Louis.
Believe it or not, though, the character of Louis was only written into the script after they realized that they couldn't get Evil Ed back. Later, while Charlie is sleeping, someone lets off a fog machine. Oh, it's actually just her. And Peter has a surprise waiting for him at the Fright Night studio.
Can't you see that is just what she wants? Oh, Mel, please!
He's been replaced. Charlie is trying to make up with Alex until, of course, she insults his vampire stuff.
Did you ever read Dracula? Oh,
No.
it's a great book, Alex. A great book.
Actually, in my opinion, it was boring, really long, and just dragged on and on about useless information, not really getting to the meat and potatoes of the story. Sorry, but it's one of the few times I will ever actually say the movie was better than the book.
Here I go again. Sorry.
Yeah, you were trying to win her back. Peter comes to warn Charlie.
There are no vampires.
cares?
Just like there are no cats in America.
We don't care if you get it.
But when Charlie goes to get himself a little lunch, he finds out there's a special ingredient in his pizza.
A whole bulb of garlic on each pizza.
Yeah, I agree. I like garlic, don't get me wrong, but that's way too much. Charlie also sees this.
Richard Green, a business and accounting major, was 22 years old.
Richie's dead, so Charlie has to accept this is not all inside Herman's head.
We don't care if you get it.
Charlie goes to Peter's apartment building, but he's not there. But he does see Bosworth.
Zutomopsis angusticalis.
Apparently, the whole naming the Latin name for each insect that he was about to eat was entirely Brian Thompson's idea to put in with this character. And the director loved it so much, he said, yeah, let's go with it. Charlie goes down to the basement and finds Regine's coffin and is about to kill her just when she becomes the Terminator. Alex is at the library when Louis shows up.
You scared me to death.
Sorry. You look great scared.
Well, that's not a creepy thing to say. Louis tries to make a date, but it doesn't work. So Louis, the roller skating vampire, and Bosworth decide to go bowling. But the bowling alley manager says they're all done for the night.
You could say that again, partner.
And the owners get Munsoned.
We don't care if you get it.
Peter is at a bar when he sees the new Fright Night.
I kill vampires.
Yeah, you do! Back at the library,
It's party time.
he attacks Charlie, but thinking quick, Alex stuffed roses into his faces. This actually comes from a very forgotten myth lore that rose petals had the same effect on werewolves that garlic had on vampires. Now, it hasn't been done much through filmmaking. Like I said, it's been kind of forgotten, so bravo to the movie makers for deciding to add this in.
That was not group hypnosis.
Duh.
Peter gets to the set and goes after Regine.
Hey, watch No, don't.
Great plan.
What can we do with him? State hospital?
How did you expect that to go? Like, seriously. Charlie and Alex get arrested because of the damage in the library. Alex gets bailed out by Charlie's therapist, whereas Charlie gets bailed out by the therapist agrees to take Alex to the mental hospital to get Peter, but while in the car. They got to him, but it's okay, Alex fights him off. Now, I feel like in most vampire movies, Alex would still be debating whether or not vampires are real, so good for you for picking it up so quickly, Alex. Alex poses as a therapist to try to get Peter out of the hospital, but while she's doing that, another patient who believes that Peter is a vampire killer pulls the fire alarm.
Okay, Mr. Vincent. You can go kill your vampire now.
He gets it. Charlie is being cleaned and prepared for his first blood tasting. As this is going on, Regine explains to him why she bit him and why she's gonna turn him to a vampire. It's so that he will be immortal and live forever.
And it's forever that I'll torture you.
So she's gonna marry him. I love you, honey. Then Charlie meets his friend.
You're dead.
Yep. Got off the slab at the morgue just to be here tonight.
Richie's back, but Peter Vincent is there with a bottle of holy water. And Richie becomes a little teapot, short and stout. You can see his handle, and here is his spout.
Ew.
But Charlie is turning. Oh, it's that itchy material. Peter goes about trying to get them out through the window. But Uncle Rico is back. He's so annoying. Gosh. But Charlie gets this. If that's not silver, then it shouldn't work.
Bullseye, dude.
Okay, clearly looks like a werewolf, but dying like a vampire, so I don't know. Werepire? Whatever. They get into another room and encounter Bosworth, Regine, and Belle, the roller skating vampire.
Welcome to Fright Night.
Part 2! Regine tries to make Charlie bite Alex, but he fights it. Is he gonna melt like Jerry's ghoul?
Ew.
No. Side note though, to do this effect, they actually had like a little pouch underneath his shirt full of actual maggots, and he had to stay hunched over the entire time he was wearing the pouch, or else the maggots would get up all over him. Say what you want about him as an actor, but that's commitment. Now for Belle. Oh, it can't be that itchy. She prefers a nice silk blend. Regine is trying to get to her coffin. Another side note, Julie Carmen had never actually done any prosthetic work until this movie, and it was a very agonizing process. They have to put a plaster mold all over your face to get your face looking right, and apparently during this she had such a bad panic attack that as soon as she left and got home, she apparently burst out into tears. I can only imagine what her reaction must have been when she went to the set that day and found out there was a problem with the mold and they had to do it all over again. When they get down to the basement, she starts her mind control on Charlie again.
Come on.
But Peter has an idea. And then he reflects the sun off of it. And it works! Yeah! Yeah! And everyone is safe.
Charlie, what if there are more of them out there?
Well, we'll never know because they never made a third one. Only 2 very bad remakes. So there you have it, that's Fright Night Part 2. Actually a very good follow-up to Fright Night. I wouldn't say it's better than Fright Night, but it was still a really good sequel. Then again, it wouldn't be insulting to say it wasn't better than Fright Night. Fright Night was one of the best vampire movies ever made. However, this movie was not very successful. It only did $2.9 million in the box office with a $7.5 million budget. However, its tanking really wasn't its fault as a movie. It wasn't that it was badly received or anything. The problem was that Roddy McDowall and Tom Wallace actually met with the chairman of Life Entertainment who was going to help distribute this movie, and apparently they had a very unpleasant lunch. Jose himself had a very unpleasant evening, because this was the same Jose Mendez who was murdered by his sons Eric and Lyle, the Menendez brothers, and it actually happened that night after that lunch. Because of this, its distribution was basically slashed considerably. It was only released to a couple of movie theaters in Los Angeles, California, and New York City. That was it. It did not get nationwide distribution. In fact, most people thought that this movie was just a straight-to-video release, and even then, it didn't get like commercials played or anything like that. It was just something that fans were going to video stores and going like, whoa, they made a Fright Night 2? Okay. Gotta keep in mind, this was way before the internet. With the internet, we would have known the movie was coming out way before it was even finished making. But in this case, the only way you knew about a movie coming out was if they made a commercial for it, which they didn't. Which just shows you could have the best product in the world, but it's not going to make a difference if people don't know it's there. Tom Holland was originally asked to direct this movie like he had done the first one, but he had to turn it down because at the time of the filming of this movie, he and Chris Sarandon, the actor who played Jerry Dandridge, were busy making the first Child's Play movie. But like I said, despite the fact that it didn't get a lot of distribution, it has a very big cult following, especially those who love the original movie Fright Night, like me. And it is a very good movie. I highly recommend you check it out. If you didn't know there was a Fright Night Part 2, now you know. Go watch it. So there you have it. That's my review of Fright Night Part 2. Hope you guys all enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you'll get notifications for when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Fright Night Part 2. Tell me if you thought it was better than Fright Night. Tell me if you thought it was way worse than Fright Night. Love you guys.